Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting the like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Hot Consideration 3451 and it says, would I be the arsehole here if I don't go to my friend's wedding because I'm not a bridesmaid or invited to the bachelorette? I realize the title sounds needy, but hear me out. Names change for anonymity. In 2022, we moved and made friends with a couple, Melanie and Adam. In 2023, we're invited to go to Mexico with them and some friends, but we unfortunately couldn't make it as I was sick. Adam was going to propose to Melanie, and 10 minutes prior, he got cold feet and told her his plan and said he can't do it. For the next year, they were on and off, going to therapy, etc. During this time, I supported Melanie, was the only one who didn't tell her to leave him and not work on it, as told to me by her. This took a lot of emotional support, which I have no issue giving a friend, but it is worth noting. Also during this time, she would always say, if I ever get married, you'll be a bridesmaid. Well, they got back together. Adam proposed, and they are getting married. Time passed and I saw other people get asked to be a bridesmaid, but I never did. When I asked her about it, she said that she was limited as she was paying for everything for a bridal party and there wasn't room in the rehearsal dinner for any more people. While I was disappointed, I told her I understood and no hard feelings. She said she still wants me to come to the bachelorette and we talked about different ideas and cities her and the maid of honor were thinking of. While hanging out, Adam had also mentioned the bachelorette party to my husband and even asked his thoughts on a few different cities. They also asked my husband to officiate their wedding, but he is scared of public speaking and their other option is Melanie's best friend, who does public speaking for a living. We learned yesterday that we're not invited to the bachelor and bachelorette parties. While I went to the restroom, my husband asked point blank. Melanie said it was just going to be a tight-knit group of girls. However, I know one bridesmaid hates the maid of honor, and Adam apologized for having talked to my husband about it multiple times. Now, their wedding is at an expensive resort in Winter Park, CO. Rooms there are expensive even with a discount, plus dog sitters for our 2 dogs and flights. We also have a baby who would be 1 year when we go, and would have to leave him with family. If they had never told us we were part of the wedding, asked us to officiate or invited to these events, we would not be upset. However, it feels extremely disrespectful and our feelings are hurt. So, would we be arseholes if we cancel our room and don't attend? And the very first commenter on this one says, fuck them. You obviously won't enjoy it, and they don't appear to like you very much, so nobody will benefit from your going. Another commenter says, RSVP no, and when asked, we're limiting our spending on just our tight-knit group of friends. Another commenter says, up until the end there I wouldn't have had not the arsehole, but I do now. It wouldn't be a small thing for you to go to a wedding, it'd be a huge commitment financially and time-wise. Destination weddings are for close friends and family. I feel like they pushed you out of that category for some reason, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Another commenter says no. Just say sorry, but we're no longer able to attend. No explanation needed or necessary. She didn't tell you why you weren't asked to be a bridesmaid or why your husband wasn't asked to attend the bachelor's party. You had to ask for an explanation. You owe them nothing, but don't be surprised if this comes between your friendship. Honestly, they don't sound like very good friends. More like it's all one-sided as you and your husband give and they take. That's my take from what I'm reading here. And it was nearly 2 weeks later that OP came in with an update and says, so here to clarify one thing and update everyone. Just to clarify, when they asked my husband to officiate, they openly told him there was another candidate and who she was. He was the groom's choice and she was the bride's choice. It was the bride's childhood friend who is a professional public speaker. Meanwhile, we've known them for only a couple of years and 90% of it they were on and off. Okay, now for the update. The next day, Adam texted my husband saying, and summarized, thanks for calling me out on the bachelor party whiplash. Definitely dropped the ball on communicating. Then asked to hang out in the next couple of weeks. My husband responded saying, Water under the bridge. You mentioned it to me a couple of times and asking where it should be. Is why it was confusing. It was also odd because you asked me to officiate, which is higher than bachelor party, but not invited to that. Yet Melanie's friend who is officiating is. Also, OP is legitimately hurt. Adam replied, I can see how you would get that with the officiating, but I see that separate from the bachelor party. I reach out to the other guys and clarify with them about the party. Husband responded, generally a good rule of thumb to not openly and unsolicitedly talk about a bachelor party to people not invited. Now, after this, Melanie texts me, hey, your husband said you're upset about the bachelorette stuff and I just wanted to talk it through. I did say I would love for you to come on the bachelorette if we decided to expand it to others out of the bridal party, which I originally had every intention of doing and I stand by that. I told a couple of my friends the same thing. We did a PowerPoint night to pick where to go for the bachelorette. Everyone chose a location and mocked up a pitch. The winner wasn't my first pick, but I cared more about it being a shared experience where people had a say where we were going because they're committed to spending a lot of money. While researching Airbnbs and activities, it became clear that it wasn't a place to host big groups. The bridal party, including me, is 7 people. So, while yes, I originally hoped that I would be able to include other friends and celebrate with you, it just wasn't looking like that was feasible with the location we chose. I was in the wrong for not updating you or anyone else I had mentioned. I'd love to have there after I found out, and that's on me. So I truly apologize for not being more transparent, but it wasn't for lack of not wanting you there. I replied a day later, hey, I've been sitting with this for a while because I didn't want to come off as angry. I'm just feeling confused and hurt as this seemed to be a pattern. First, it was the multiple occasions since 2023. You told me I would be a bridesmaid if you guys ever got back together. Specifically mentioned a girls' night with me, maid of honor, and bridesmaid, saying that it would have been with the bridesmaids. Then at the restaurant when we hung out, I had to ask about it. And when you told me I was not, it was followed up by, I know you're not a bridesmaid, but you'll definitely be going to the bachelorette. Like you said, that's more fun and important anyway. You proceeded to list potential plans and cities, and I was excited to celebrate with you. At the next girls' night, you again reiterated my attendance and the different places that were next. Again, I was excited. I then heard nothing and learned on Instagram I wasn't invited when the officiant posted the countdown on her story, and both you and the maid of honor reshared it. I thought maybe you hadn't invited me yet because we had been busy with baby and dog, had emergency surgery. But as time went on, I realized what was happening. It is your wedding and obviously you can do whatever you want. You don't owe me or anyone an invite to anything. If these things had been mentioned multiple times, I wouldn't expect it, be upset, or anything. The goalpost just keeps moving and it's hurtful to be told all these things, get my hopes up and then they don't happen. And I don't even get the decency of a conversation. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I just need to be honest about how all of this has felt from my side. That was sent on May 20th and haven't heard back. We only got the save the date and book the room they have reserved for friends and family, which can be cancelled. Thank you all for the support. Honestly, I felt so bad about this and knew Reddit wouldn't hold back if I was the arsehole. Commenter says to OP, not the arsehole. This girl does not want to be your friend. She treats you terribly. You deserve to be treated so much better than how she treats you. Another commenter says, honestly, I understand venting your frustrations to her. You're honest about your hurt, but she probably doesn't care. Sometimes it's good to just not give others any more of our energy. Say, I wish you the best of luck on your and Adam's journey together, but this friendship has begun to feel very one-sided, and I think I'm going to take a step back. Another commenter says, the bride is not your friend. Her husband and your husband might be friends, but she is not your friend. Honestly, stop investing any time or energy in this couple. Don't hang out with them. Don't go to the wedding. Certainly don't go to the shower. It doesn't sound like your husband is invited to the bachelor party either. He's officiating but not attending the party. I'm sorry, but that is just really weird. If someone is close enough to be asked to officiate, they are certainly close enough to attend the bachelor party. Let's be real. These people like to hang out with you guys sometimes, but they do not view you as friends or like acquaintances. Don't invest any more time in them. Think about whether or not you actually want to go to their wedding and spend the time and money doing that, purchasing a gift, etc. if they couldn't even be bothered to be upfront, honest, and treat you like a friend. And OP, I suspect you dodged a bullet by not being asked to be a bridesmaid. She sounds insufferable. And one more comment that says, you both just need to step away from these people. Your husband should just decline any part in the wedding and then decline attending as a guest. Then block them and find actual friends. And I absolutely agree with the comments there and not wasting your time and energy on these people anymore, because they don't sound like they value your friendship at all. This whole thing with Melanie, who keeps like dangling the carrot of the bridesmaid's role, bachelorette, your husband officiating, and then just, snatching the way with weird excuses. I just think it's one of those situations where you need to protect yourself and step away from it, because in reality, why do you want that shit in your life? Come on now. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Throwaway Dad 9999. It says, my 50 male daughter, 24 female, just moved back in after an abusive relationship, and she's been wanting to be uncomfortably close to me. So, I will try and keep this brief. My daughter met a man I didn't really care for 3 years ago, right about when COVID was starting. He wanted her to move in with him quickly, and I could tell he was love bombing her. I was worried about how fast things were moving between them. She called me up after she moved in, saying that she had to respect their relationship and that she needed to cut out anyone who wasn't supportive. I told her I didn't like where this was heading. The love bombing, moving in so quickly, now being isolated from her family. I told her these were warning signs, but she told me she was in love, etc. I told her if this was her choice, then so be it, but I would always love her. My door would always be open, and if she ever needed anything or needed help, I'd be there for her. I didn't hear from her again for a couple of years. Well, I got a call from her a few weeks ago. She was crying. She said I was right about him all along. Things have gotten progressively worse, and now he'd hit her for the first time, and that was her boundary. She asked me if my offer to help her was still on the table. I told her of course it was. I love her and would do anything for her. So as soon as we got the chance, I went over there, helped her pack up while he was gone, and moved her back into my house. You guys, I wanted to cry when I first heard her on the phone. She sounded so desperate. It was even worse when I saw her. She was emaciated. She had bruises. She was a shell of her former self. It breaks my heart to see how badly beaten down she's been. Here is where things start to get, well, awkward. About a week ago, she came into my bedroom at night in her pajamas and said she'd been having trouble sleeping. She wanted to sleep in my bed, with me, which I thought was odd. I said it was a bit odd, but she begged me and it would make her feel safe. She used to sleep in our bed when her mother was still alive, and she was a little girl and had bad dreams that ended a long time ago. I figured whatever she had been through was enough though, and I wasn't about to interrogate her or make her feel ashamed. I wanted her to feel safe, and so I agreed. She cuddled up with me and we slept. This has now become a habit with her. She's not slept in her own bed since and is asking me to cuddle with her or spoon her while she is sleeping in my bed with me. I really don't know what to make of this. She says it makes her feel safe. I'm not sure this is appropriate though, but at the same time, she's been through enough already and I want her to feel safe and secure. Is this something you think she will move past once she recovers a bit? Should I tell her I think it's inappropriate? Edits. We have a therapist appointment booked. I figured she was going to need one, but the therapist we found didn't have an immediate opening. Edits. I've heard from so many women who have been through similar ordeals but didn't have supportive parents to help them. I just want to say to you all, I'm sorry that happened. None of it was your fault. You didn't deserve it. What you did deserve was to have a dad in your corner willing to tap into the match for you. It breaks my heart so many of you didn't have that. Opie adds another edit and says, I probably should have included this in the original post. I asked her about filing a police report when I first picked her up. She didn't think she could handle talking to the police. I took her to a walk-in clinic. She had bruising on her face and she was thin. I wanted to make sure she had no head traumas and to see if she would need to be admitted to the hospital to get her back up to weight. She wasn't underweight enough to require hospitalization. She didn't want to be checked into the hospital, she just wanted to go home. Doc gave me some advice on safely getting her weight back up, and we did take pictures of the bruising on her face and neck and get a medical report that documents it. So someone said to OP, "It sounds like she is very broken and reverting to childhood comforting. She needs a therapist to help her. She was severely abused for 3 years and it's not going to be undone in 2 weeks or even 2 months. She needs professional help. If the cuddling makes you uncomfortable, for sure talk to her, gently. She is just seeking comfort and is still scared he's going to come for her. She knows Daddy will protect her." Opie says, "I will protect her. I told her from the get-go she could always come to me. I'll always be on her side. We do have a therapist booked, but they didn't have an immediate opening." Another commenter says, "I'm glad she left the situation and is safe. Her coping mechanisms are what they are. They only make sense to her, but yes, it is crossing a line a bit. If you can, pick up a pregnancy body pillow shaped like a U and weighted blankets. This can help with anxiety by feeling snuggled and protected without an actual person present." Opie says weighted blanket and body pillow is a good idea. Another commenter says, "You're allowed to have boundaries. Your comfort matters too. Buy her a body pillow and some weighted blankets. She needs to be sleeping in her own room going forward." Opie says, "Honestly, right now, my needs are secondary to hers, at least until she's in a better place." Another commenter says, "God bless you. You're a wonderful father and I wish I had a father like you in my life. You're saving your daughter, and your wife from heaven above would be proud of you. You're the savior in your daughter's life. Whatever you are doing is helping her feel safe and will help her recover from such a traumatic experience." Opie says, "Thank you. I love my daughter unconditionally. I will always have her back. I will always pull her up when she falls down. I hope my wife is proud. My wife fought so hard to stay alive and stay with us. I know she would have fought just as hard for our daughter now as she did to stay with us." Another commenter says, "I wish everybody could read this post. This is how you parent. However much we wish we could make choices and decisions for our children, and however old they are, they're still our children. We have to step back and let them make their own mistakes. All we can do is be there for them when things go wrong. And OP, you are doing that in spades. I applaud you." Opie says, "I just felt something was really off about him. My daughter just thought I was being the dad who never thinks anyone is ever good enough for his little girl. Next to her mum dying, letting her go was the hardest thing I've ever done. These 2 years worrying about her were murder. I knew things weren't going great because her best friend kept in touch with me and let me know how things were going before. She too was cut off. And that is just incredibly heartbreaking, but fair play to OP for the way that they're dealing with it and the way that they left the door open initially as well. They did everything that people always mentions in these kind of posts about leaving that door open for family when they're going to make that choice regardless. You can't do nothing about it. So all you can do is leave that door open for them and help them when they need it, which is what OP did. And there was lots of comments mentioning reverting to child comfort mechanisms and after dealing with all that hell that they've been through and just seeking that ultimate safe space for themselves. Lots of people mentioning therapy going forward to help them and, and just gradually setting those boundaries for himself without the shame. But 1.5 months later, OP did come in with an update and said, "Okay, so I got some great advice and I figured I'd give everyone an update and clarify a few things because it will come into play. I know I said this in the comments, but I will reiterate here. When I picked her up, I saw that she was underweight and had bruises on her face and neck. Clearly strangulation marks on her neck and she'd been punched in the face. I immediately took her to a walk-in clinic. I wanted her checked for head trauma. I wanted to make sure she was okay. No broken bones or head traumas, etc. I wanted doctor's advice on getting her back up to a healthy weight, which foods to eat, which to avoid, refeeding syndrome, etc. The doctor told me her BMI was 15. Not good, but not requiring immediate hospitalizations or anything. That would be 12 and under. I also wanted all of her injuries documented. I also got pictures. The doctor gave me advice on how best to get her up to weight without her feeling sick. I asked my daughter if she wanted to file a police report and press charges. I wanted this she did not. I didn't push it, but I kept the medical records from the doctor's visit. I got her home, and for the first week I was careful about what I was feeding her and how much so we could get her healthy again without making her sick. I feel bad about it now because after I put my original post up, my daughter opened up to me about what he did and put her through. One of the things he would do is watch what she was eating and how much. He would constantly warn her about getting fat and not being attractive anymore. I now feel a bit bad because when she got home, I too was monitoring what she was eating at first. I know it's for different reasons, but it makes me feel bad. Anyway, on to the update part of things. She did finally write down everything that he did to her. I took a copy of this and put it with her medical files in case she ever decided to press charges later. I took her to her therapist's appointment and he recommended what many of you did, a specialist. He had the name of a domestic abuse specialist who was also a woman. We are keeping him on for me and as counseling for the two of us. I tried to be a good father, but there were cracks in our relationship he was able to exploit to turn her against me. There were things I did wrong after my wife's death and things we need to address, and also just to get help with helping her recover. She's now seeing a domestic abuse specialist. As for the sleep thing, well, I had a talk with her and the therapist about it, and we came up with a plan utilizing many of the recommendations mentioned on the last thread. And we are comfortable with the solution we've come up with. I don't want to get too much into what he did to her. That's her story to tell, but he did utilize sleep deprivation. She told me he would make these jokes about how easy it would be for him to kill her in her sleep. He would joke like this all the time and then laugh about it. She repeatedly asked him to stop, but he didn't. I only mention it because people mention he might have done things to make her scared to sleep, and well, that was one of them. I don't want to repeat the others. Those are too personal. I took a leave of absence from work so I could be home with her. I prepared my weapons and got a ring cam to monitor the door. He did not give up on her easily. While she had blocked his number and social media profiles, he would repeatedly create false profiles or use burner phones to continue to harass her. At one point I did take the phone from her when he had called her and told him not to show up here or I would, well, you know. That was not enough. About 2 weeks after this post went up, he showed up. I saw him on the ring cam I had installed and called the police to have him removed. I told him from the door to leave, and if he walked inside, it would be the last thing he ever did. Instead, the police came and removed him. But they did little else but get rid of him. Without a protective order or my daughter filing domestic abuse charges, the most they could really do was tell him to get off my lawn basically. This was the wake-up call my daughter needed though. She decided to press charges after he showed up. I retained a lawyer to help us through this. I gave the lawyer the advice I had accumulated and he spoke to the DA and police and I've helped have the charges filed and the restraining order issued. Honestly, I'm not sure what went on there, but people, let me tell you, lawyers are your friend if you need to navigate anything in the legal system, even if you're not a defendant. So that brings us to now. We're moving forward in the legal system now to press charges. We have a protective order. She's recovered more or less physically, but emotionally, it's going to be a while. I'm in therapy, she's in therapy, and we're in therapy together. Yes, lots of therapy. She's sleeping in her own bed when she feels up to it, but she still has nightmares and nights where she feels comforted to be close to me. We're comfortable with the arrangements we've made here and have drawn up a plan with a therapist to get her back into her own room and bed. I feel bad about the feeding now. I'd monitored her food intake before we had been watching how she ate like that. I also feel like I failed to prepare her for someone like that. To everyone who responded to my first thread, thank you. To most of you. Commenter said to OP, something that helped me a lot when I have night terrors. I take Razocin for my horrific nightmares. I still have them and some doozy ones sometimes, but it dulls it a lot. When these dreams happen, it's terrifying and you wake up feeling like someone had a gun to your head. The adrenaline is insane. Help make a routine. Good sleep hygiene, take a warm shower before bed and have tea. Something that helped is just waking up my partner and having a hug. But definitely talk to a doctor about sleep help. Opie says we're asked the doctor about this. Again, just incredibly sad all around, but I'm glad there's just therapy from all angles that's going on, and I'm really wishing them both the best going forward. And it sounds like this absolute scumbag has done some horrific things and he's still out there, still able to do this to someone else at the same time and still attempts to torment OP's daughter and OP too. OP sounds like a good dad who only cares about his daughter and wants what's best. You know, sure, he's mentioned some things that weren't ideal, but he's trying to come from a place of love all the way. And the amount of people relating to this post as well is just incredibly sad. And I do wish you all the best if you've been through a similar situation. Much love to you. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.